Before diving into this incredible story, remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, every story has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. The Miami sun beat down harshly on the bustling avenue where the prestigious Prestige Motors dealership stood. The windows reflected the dazzling rays and the immaculate bodies of the luxury cars displayed inside. In this temple of luxury, a black woman, dressed in a simple yet elegant suit, walked purposefully, carrying a thick file. Her eyes shone with an intensity that was a mixture of frustration and dignity. Inside, a massive security guard, arms crossed, suddenly blocked her path. "Madam, I'm going to ask you to leave." "We can't." His voice was firm, but tinged with subtle disdain, as if he were arbitrarily deciding who had the right to enter this place reserved for the privileged. The woman tried to protest, but her words were drowned out by the roar of the engines and the murmurs of the other customers. No one seemed willing to intervene. She took a few steps back, her heart pounding, aware that every glance weighed on her like a silent judgment. She had come here on confidential business, but no one in this dealership seemed to care about her status or her intentions. The whole world seemed to have ignored her, until this very moment. Then, the silence was broken by a deep, powerful purr. A black Rolls-Royce, perfect and imposing, made a majestic entrance in front of the showroom door. Passers-by instinctively stepped aside, and the security guard froze. The car door opened, and an elegant, imposing, and charismatic man in a perfectly tailored suit stepped out with calculated slowness. His gaze was fixed on her, and in his eyes shone gratitude and protection. It was her husband, a discreet but immensely influential billionaire, whose mere presence was enough to transform humiliation into power. With a confident gesture, he extended his hand towards her, and everyone inside the showroom felt the winds of change. Condescending glances turned to shock and forced respect. This unexpected arrival was not merely a rescue, it marked the beginning of a dramatic turnaround, a story where dignity, power, and revenge would intertwine in an unforgettable way. Despite the anger and pain of her initial rejection, the woman felt, for the first time in a long time, an invisible force supporting her. The warm Miami breeze gently ruffled Monica Thompson's hair as she stood by the dealership door, still reeling from the humiliating eviction. Her heart pounded, a mixture of anger and incomprehension. How dare they treat her like that? After all, she wasn't just any customer, she had a crucial appointment for a confidential transaction that could have changed the course of her career. Inside, the employees whispered amongst themselves, casting furtive glances at the black Rolls-Royce parked outside. The customers, however, had never seen such a contrast, a dignified and elegant black woman, rejected by the most fashionable establishment in town, followed by a billionaire with irresistible charisma. Monica felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned and met the gaze of her husband, Ethan Carter, whose mere smile seemed enough to right any wrong. "Don't worry about them," he said calmly. "They don't know who they're dealing with." His voice was gentle but firm, and she felt a wave of relief wash over her. Ethan gestured for Monica to get into the Rolls-Royce. The engine purred powerfully as they drove away from the dealership. From inside, Monica watched the employees, still frozen, realizing too late the gravity of their mistake. She felt a mixture of quiet satisfaction and regained power. But this public humiliation was only the first act in a series of events that would shake their world. Revelations, family secrets, and rivalries within the circles of power would follow. Monica understood that her life had just been turned upside down in a matter of minutes, and that she was ready to take back everything that had been taken from her. As the Rolls-Royce turned onto the Grand Avenue, Monica placed her hand on Ethan's. He smiled at her, and in that simple gesture, she felt his protection and strength. The revenge was only just beginning. The Rolls-Royce moved slowly through the bustling streets of Miami, and Monica couldn't stop replaying what had just happened. Every detail of the humiliation at the dealership came flooding back, along with a mixture of bitterness and determination. But Ethan, sitting beside her, seemed completely unfazed. On the contrary, he displayed an almost defiant calm. "You know," he finally said, "what just happened wasn't a coincidence." Monica looked up in surprise. "What do you mean?" Ethan looked her straight in the eyes. "These people, they don't know who you are." And believe me, some would do anything to get down to your level if only they knew the truth. Monica frowned. She had always been proud of her independence, her hard work, but it wasn't easy to accept that an entire world could judge her before even knowing her. Ethan. I never wanted you interfering like this. I can handle my own business. He smiled, a smile that was both tender and playful. I know. But sometimes, life forces us to show others that underestimating someone has a price. And you are so much more than they imagine. As they arrived at their private residence, Monica saw for the first time Ethan's true lifestyle, a modern villa, surrounded by immaculate gardens, with luxury cars parked in the driveway, each more impressive than the last. This was the world she had read about in magazines, but had never truly believed she could be a part of. Inside, Ethan led her to an elegant desk and invited her to sit down. On the desk, a series of files and documents seemed to be waiting for her. Monica, I think it's time you knew the whole truth about me, and about yourself. Intrigued and slightly nervous, Monica sat down. Ethan then explained that he wasn't just a discreet billionaire, he was a major investor in several global sectors, influential in business, philanthropy, and even politics. But what surprised Monica most was that he knew her exact role in certain confidential transactions, information that few people could have obtained. You've always been special, Monica, he said. And what I want you to understand is that this world that has rejected you, it's going to learn to respect you soon. At that precise moment, Monica realized that her humiliation at the concession was not an end, but the beginning of a masterful revenge, where her intelligence, her courage and now the influence of her husband would combine to change the rules of the game. The next morning, Monica woke up in Ethan's lavish villa, sunlight streaming through the large bay windows. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee hung in the air, but her mind was far from peaceful. The previous day's scene, her humiliating eviction from the concession, kept replaying in her head. Ethan entered the room, a file under his arm and a confident smile on his face. I took the initiative, he said calmly. We're going to show this dealership what it feels like to underestimate someone. Monica frowned, hesitant. Ethan, it's not necessary. I don't want any conflict. He shook his head. You still don't understand, Monica. This isn't just about revenge. It's about justice. These people judged you before they even knew you. And we're going to show them, in a way they'll never forget. In the hours that followed, Monica and Ethan devised a meticulously detailed plan. Leveraging Ethan's contacts and influence, they began investigating the dealership, its owners, and the employees responsible for his humiliation. They quickly discovered that the dealership had a history of treating certain customers with contempt, but no one had ever had the resources or the courage to fight back. It's perfect, Monica said, scanning the files. They think everything is under control, but they have absolutely no idea what's going on. Ethan nodded. Exactly. And tomorrow, we're going to surprise them. That evening, Monica dressed carefully, choosing an outfit that exuded elegance and confidence. She had never felt such determination. It was no longer just for herself, but for all those who had been unjustly judged or humiliated. The next morning, Monica and Ethan drove to the dealership in the same black Rolls-Royce that had caused such a stir the day before. But this time, it wasn't a discreet arrival. The vehicle pulled up majestically in front of the entrance, its engines roaring, immediately drawing everyone's attention. The dealership employees, who had chased her out the day before, froze. Monica confidently stepped out of the car, Ethan at her side. Silence fell over the showroom. She was no longer the victim, she was the force that would change their perception forever. And that was the beginning of what everyone would soon call, the day the power changed sides. The black Rolls-Royce pulled up in front of the dealership, a symbol of power and authority. The already nervous employees watched Monica step out of the car, impeccably dressed and radiating confidence. Beside her, Ethan walked with an intimidating presence, his penetrating gaze sweeping the room. As soon as she crossed the threshold, a heavy silence fell. The murmurs died away instantly, and every employee felt the tension in the air. Monica walked forward calmly, but each step seemed to echo like a defiant gesture. Good morning everyone, she said in a clear and confident voice. I'm Monica Thompson. And I think you owe me some explanations. The security guard who had ejected her the day before stammered, unable to find the right words. The shocked customers turned to the employees. The owners of the concession, alerted by the commotion, appeared at the counter, surprised to see this woman, whom they had chased away the day before, enter with such confidence, and accompanied by a man whose mere presence commanded respect. Ethan took a step forward. I'm Ethan Carter, husband of Monica Thompson. Do you remember her? Maybe not, but you'll remember us today. His voice, calm but firm, cut off any attempt at protest. Monica placed the file she was holding on the counter. Inside, evidence of wrongdoing, financial assessments, and compromising information about the management of the dealership. The owners, turning pale, immediately understood the gravity of the situation. You judged someone before you even knew them, Monica said, staring at each of them. You chose contempt. But today, I decide what happens. The employees murmured amongst themselves, aware that the situation had completely spiraled out of control. The Rolls-Royce parked outside had become the symbol of their fatal mistake. Monica and Ethan hadn't just reacted to the humiliation, they had seized control, asserting their power with elegance and efficiency. The owners, realizing they were out of their depth, tried to speak, but Monica raised her hand. No. Today, you listen. And believe me, you're going to learn a lesson you'll never forget. The shock was total. What had begun as a simple, humiliating expulsion was transformed into a dazzling demonstration of justice and power. The looks around them changed, from condescension to fear, from indifference to forced admiration. And Monica, for the first time since that initial confrontation, felt a thrill of victory run down her spine. The revenge had just begun, and it was only the beginning. After a few minutes of heavy silence in the showroom, Monica slowly opened the file she was holding. The pages contained financial documents, dubious contracts, and even internal emails revealing discriminatory practices and embezzlement. The dealership owners, who were still trying to hide their panic, realized that their carefully constructed world was about to collapse. You see this? Monica said, pointing to a specific document. These reports show that you manipulated your sales to favor certain customers and discriminate against others. Like me, for example. Her voice was calm, but each word struck like a thunderclap in the room. An employee dared to whisper, "It's impossible." Monica met his gaze, merciless. Impossible, perhaps, for those who refuse to see the truth. But it's all here, in black and white. And today, everyone will know what's hidden behind your facades of luxury and respectability. Ethan, who had remained silent until then, spoke in his deep, measured voice. We have no intention of humiliating you further. But we do intend for you to face up to your actions. You will rectify this situation immediately. The owners stared at each other, helpless. The customers present, who had witnessed the entire scene, began to murmur, some pulling out their phones to film. News of this confrontation would spread quickly, and the dealership's reputation was now at stake. Monica took a deep breath, aware that the power she held came not only from her husband, but also from her own intelligence, determination, and dignity. You have two choices, she said firmly, admit your mistakes and correct your practices, or face the legal and media consequences. Silence fell once more. Then, one of the owners, pale and trembling, murmured, We will do as you ask. Monica gave a faint smile. The revenge wasn't over yet, but the first step had been taken. She felt that this moment would mark a turning point in her life, one where she would never again be judged, ignored, or humiliated. As they left the showroom, Ethan gently took Monica's hand. You see, he said, sometimes you just have to know when to strike. And you did it perfectly. Monica smiled, but deep down, she knew that other challenges still awaited them. The day of revenge was only the beginning of a story that would shake much more than just a car dealership. The next morning, Monica and Ethan were already hard at work. The black Rolls-Royce took them to a film studio reserved for the local press. Their goal, to expose the abuses and malpractices of the dealership to the public, and to show the world that Monica was not simply a victim, but a determined and powerful woman. Ethan had organized every detail with surgical precision. Cameras, journalists, and influencers were all ready to cover the event, but none of them had yet figured out who Monica Thompson really was. On the spot, Monica took a deep breath. Her elegant suit and impeccable posture radiated confidence. She knew that this moment was not simply about settling scores, it was about justice, dignity, and showing all those who underestimated others that they could be wrong. When the live broadcast began, Monica calmly introduced herself. "Hello everyone, I'm Monica Thompson. Yesterday, I was kicked out of a car dealership simply because of my skin color and appearance. But what you don't know is that behind this facade lies a truth that I'm here to share." The camera zoomed in on Ethan, who smiled slightly beside her, silent but imposing. The journalists frantically took notes, some exchanging shocked glances as they read the documents Monica was displaying. She continued. "These documents reveal systematic discriminatory practices, financial malfeasance, and a total disregard for human dignity. It is not only me you have judged and humiliated, but all those who have fallen victim to your arrogance." As she spoke, excerpts from internal emails and financial evidence scrolled across the screens behind her. The audience, both in the studio and watching live on social media, was stunned. The reactions were immediate: outraged comments, massive shares, and an almost instantaneous public condemnation of the concession. Monica ended her speech with a simple but impactful sentence. "What you call luxury and success means nothing if you forget humanity and respect. And today, we are going to remind you of that." When the lights dimmed and the cameras stopped rolling, Monica felt an enormous weight lift from her shoulders. She had transformed humiliation into power, and that power would continue to grow. Ethan placed a hand on his shoulder and whispered, "You were incredible. But remember, this is just the beginning. More challenges await us, and we must be ready." Monica nodded. She knew the fight against injustice was only just beginning, but she was ready to face anything to see justice done. The day after the public exposure, the car dealership was in chaos. Social media exploded with outraged comments, and local news outlets ran analyses of the discriminatory practices Monica had exposed. The owners, now under immense pressure, received a barrage of calls from furious partners and customers. But for Monica and Ethan, this public victory was just one step. While they were savoring their success, a new set of complications arose. Influential members of the business community, allied with the dealership owners, began to launch counterattacks. Rumors and defamatory articles were already circulating, aimed at discrediting Monica and minimizing the impact of her revelations. Monica felt her heart sink as she read the first articles. They tried to portray her as someone who had exaggerated the facts to attract attention, and some even went so far as to question her professional competence. She looked up at Ethan, who, ever calm, encouraged her. "Don't worry. This is exactly what we expected. They're going to attack, but we're prepared." They decided to retaliate immediately. Ethan contacted his lawyers and communications experts, while Monica planned an exclusive interview for a national network to clarify the facts and amplify her message. However, a new element complicated the situation. The family of one of the owners, influential in the automotive industry and financially powerful, began threatening business partners to isolate Monica and Ethan. The couple realized that this battle would go beyond simply getting revenge on the dealership and would affect a much larger power network. Despite everything, Monica showed no fear. "They think they can intimidate me," she said. "But they don't know who they're dealing with." Ethan nodded. "Exactly. We're going to show them that truth and justice are forces they cannot control." That evening, as they gazed at the city from the terrace of their villa, Monica felt a newfound determination. Every obstacle, every threat, strengthened her resolve not to give in. She knew that to protect her dignity and that of all those who had been humiliated, she had to see it through to the end. And somewhere in the city, the enemies she had faced were beginning to understand that Monica Thompson was not someone to be underestimated. The next morning, Monica and Ethan met in the main office of their villa. On the table lay files, financial records, and investigative reports detailing every move of the concession's allies and the influential families seeking to intimidate them. The situation was tense, but Monica displayed a determined calm. "They think they can isolate us," she said, scanning the documents. "But we have all the information we need to neutralize them before they even act." Ethan nodded. "Exactly. We're going to use their own network against them. Every partner they threaten will be informed of their wrongdoing and shady practices. They won't be able to hide anything anymore." Monica understood that this battle was not just legal or media-driven, it required a strategy of total control of the situation. She decided to combine legal evidence with the power of public opinion and the discreet support of influential allies on their side. The plan was simple but audacious. Controlled dissemination of evidence, each partner and investor receiving the compromising documents, revealing the abuses and corruption of the owners of the concession. Media reinforcement, Monica accepted a series of exclusive interviews to tell his story, in emphasizing the theme of justice and equality. Mobilizing Ethan's allies, Ethan established a discreet but powerful support system within his network. With key figures in the sector, neutralizing attempts intimidation from the influential family. In the following days, the plan unfolded perfectly. The initial results were immediate. Some partners began severing ties with the dealership, and the threats from the influential family lost their effectiveness. The pressure mounted on the owners, who began to tremble under the weight of the revelations. One evening, Monica and Ethan found themselves on the terrace of their villa, observing the illuminated city below. Ethan placed a hand on Monica's shoulder. "You've done an incredible job. But prepare yourself, the final stage is approaching. This is where everything is decided." Monica smiled, feeling the adrenaline surge. She knew this battle for justice and dignity wasn't over, but their revenge was nearly complete. She felt more powerful than ever, ready to face whatever lay ahead. And in the distance, those who thought they could stop them were beginning to understand that Monica Thompson and Ethan Carter were invincible when they acted together. Tensions had reached a boiling point. The dealership, under media and legal pressure, was forced to convene an emergency meeting with all partners and the influential family. Monica and Ethan were invited, but this meeting was their last chance to turn the tide for good. On the day, Monica entered the room with the same elegance and confidence as before. The owners, pale and nervous, exchanged worried glances. The influential family, known for its authority and threats, tried to mask its irritation, but everyone could see their tension. Monica spoke immediately. "We are here to clarify the truth once and for all. The documents we have provided are not vague accusations, but concrete evidence of wrongdoing, discrimination, and illegal practices. You have been judged, and the world is watching you now." A heavy silence fell. The partners present, shocked, murmured among themselves, realizing that their confidence in the concession was irreparably shaken. Ethan took a step forward, adding, "We've given you a chance to rectify the situation, but it's time for justice to be served. You can choose to correct your mistakes now, or face the legal and public consequences. The decision is yours." The influential family tried to retaliate, but Monica then produced one last piece of evidence, irrefutable proof of collusion and threats against partners, directly linked to them. The entire room held its breath. The faces of the owners and the family were now frozen in fear and humiliation. After a few minutes of extreme tension, one of the main partners stood up. "We fully support Monica Thompson and Ethan Carter. Any attempt to conceal or ignore this evidence is over. The concession must change, and those who refuse to do so will face the consequences." Monica felt a wave of triumph and relief. Her strategy had worked perfectly, the truth had been revealed, power had changed sides, and those who had humiliated her could no longer act with impunity. Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder, a satisfied smile on his face. "You were exceptional, Monica. The victory is ours, but even more than that, you showed the world what dignity and justice mean." Monica smiled, finally feeling the reward for her courage and determination. The battle was over, but the world had just learned an unforgettable lesson: underestimating someone can be very costly, especially when they know how to fight with intelligence and strength. A few weeks after the decisive confrontation, Monica and Ethan stood in their villa, watching the sunset over Miami. The dealership had been completely reformed, its leaders replaced, and the discriminatory practices eradicated. The media were still reporting the story, praising Monica's courage and determination, and her inspiring role in the fight against injustice. Monica took Ethan's hand and smiled. "I never would have thought it could all end like this." Ethan looked at her tenderly. "You always believed in yourself, Monica. All we did was reveal to the world what you truly are, a strong, intelligent, and fair woman." They reminisced about the moments of doubt, the humiliation of the concession, the threats from the influential family, and the unforeseen obstacles. Each ordeal had been a test of their strength and determination, and they had emerged more united than ever. But beyond the victory, Monica felt a profound inner satisfaction. She had transformed humiliation into power, injustice into a lesson, and contempt into respect. Her story was no longer just her own, she had become a symbol for all those who had been unjustly judged or rejected. That night, as the city shimmered with twinkling lights, Monica and Ethan took a moment for themselves. The black Rolls-Royce was parked outside, silent and majestic, a discreet witness to their journey. "We won," Monica said softly. "But more than anything, we showed that the truth always triumphs in the end." Ethan nodded, a knowing smile on his face. "And no one will ever be able to underestimate us again." As the warm Miami breeze caressed their faces, Monica finally felt free of all fear and doubt. Vengeance had been achieved, justice restored, and Ethan's love and support gave her the strength to look to the future with confidence and serenity. In that perfect moment, she knew that true power didn't come solely from money or influence, but from determination, dignity, and the courage to confront injustice. And from that day forward, Monica Thompson became much more than a woman who had been humiliated. She became a legend of courage and redemption in the world she had just transformed.